Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another Cimmerian September. And it doesn't get more Cimmerian than this one. Across the Black River, man, this one's rough, but it's actually one of the best out there. I know a lot of my friends out there really enjoy this one. It's also the basis for many games, GURPS, and the Conan 2D20 by Modifius game use this one as one of their opening adventures, or their comes with the game adventure. This one originally written back in 1935, June 1935. It takes place in the newly established province by King Nemedides, just outside of Aquilonia on the Pictish borderlands. The Black River makes up the border between Media and Aquilonia, and right there where the Picts have their vast jungle empire. Not really an empire, more a conglomeration of independent tribes that are eventually brought together by the wizard Zogar Sag, or Sag. And Conan just happens to be working out there as a scout and a guide, and he meets a young wilderness fella named Bathus, who will be forever remembered as one of the big heroes in the Conan lore. Unfortunately, just this story, he doesn't make it out alive, but man, what an ending. Conan and several men are tasked with going and sneaking into the Pictish wilderness to off this wizard before he unites the tribes together. Unfortunately, he's already done that by the time they get in the boat and cross the river. Bathus is left behind to watch the boat, and in a blink of an eye, everybody but Conan and one other guy are slain. Bathus and the other guy, I forget his name, are captured and tied to a stake in one of the little altar villages. It's got this altar of their god, sort of a man-ape kind of thing. And Bathus and the other guy, Bathus gets sacrificed to a saber-toothed tiger, pretty brutal. And Bathus just barely makes out alive because Conan, as a giant freaking serpent, comes sneaking in, welcomed into the village to take Bathus. Conan not kills it, but skewers it with a spear, so it starts flailing about, giving Conan the opportunity to... Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. Okay, maybe not. Felt that sometimes if you say you get a sneeze, that'll stop the sneeze. I don't know why. And the two of them escape, and struggling through the jungle. They can't cross the river immediately. They got to go further south, I believe, to get away from the search party. They run into a jaguar and a panther, and Conan does this weird thing that I think he should have done more often, or he should do more often after this. But he uses an ancient symbol that he learned somewhere in his travels, and he scrapes it in some mold or something in the dirt, and it sort of keeps all the other animals away from them for the remainder of the journey. which is kind of weird because, like I said, if you knew it and you knew it would work, you should have done it. But unfortunately, that also angers the jungle spirits, the ancient god Jebel Sag, a forgotten god, where back in the old days when men and animals all had the same language, only a few of the animals still remember it. It would have made a really interesting story if you'd gone more into it instead of just dropped it right in here. But they eventually escape, make it back across the river, and only to find out that the fort is being sieged by the Picts, and they're just tearing it apart. They've just overrun the fort, so they decide to go and warn the settlers down the road to evacuate, because the fort is lost. The Picts are going to be coming their way, in minutes, literally. And Bathus is told to go down and warn the villagers to get out, because Conan realized that some of the other men had went over to Salt Lick, so they were separated. Conan goes to warn the men, and Bathus goes and warns the women. But as Bathus is getting the women out, he spies more Picts coming his way, and somewhere along the road they met this dog that was the sole survivor of a couple of settlers, and their dog had been wounded, and some people healed it, but it left and went hunting Picts to get revenge, and they bump into the dog, and Bathus and the dog are, they make their valiant last stand to keep the Picts away from the women as they're escaping. And Conan finds this out later on, after it's all over, and finds out that Bathus and Slasher, the dog, took out a sizable chunk of Picts, whereas only one guy survived the fort. Tells Conan of Bathus's fate and Slasher's fate, and at the end of the story, Conan vows to go back and slay 10 Picts for Bathus and 7 for Slasher, because the two of them were, that big of heroes that they deserve. The pouring out of Conan's drink and the vow to go and get revenge on some Picts, even though the fort is lost, the province is lost, and the new border will be the Black River from that point on forever, basically, because there's nothing that can stop the Picts. As you know, in Conan lore, the Picts eventually will wipe out everybody and everything, because there's just so darn many of them, and their fury and lust for blood is all consuming. But this was a great story, bloody, brutal, just it's a rough one. If you're not into that sort of thing, then why are you reading Conan? But this one's like at the top of the sad and tragic and brutal stories. This one will leave a mark on you. Conan does manage to take out the demon, which is actually blood tied to the wizard, which is interesting, because when Conan kills the demon, he kills him a certain way, and the wizard was witnessed to die the same way out of nowhere. He's just standing there, suddenly, he gets all ganked and jacked up by invisible sword swipes from Conan miles and miles away. I played through this adventure with Crafty Matt Craft and some other fine gentlemen a couple of years ago, and it was a lot of fun. It was brutal, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I certainly did. This one's easily in my top 3 or 4 favorite Conan stories of all time, just because it's so poignant and just epic, even though the real hero is Bathus, and that point was pretty plain. But couldn't have made it without Conan. But Conan very rarely comes across someone like this, and of course good old Slasher fought to the end. So that's what I got for you today. I've got a Savage Sword game later on this evening, which I'm really looking forward to, and some other really cool things in the works. and I'll be sharing some new contact information with some new YouTube channels and YouTubers that I've met that are doing some really, really cool stuff. But I hope you guys go out and get some Conan in. There's only about a week left, maybe even less than that now, of Cimmerian September, so I've got a lot of reading to do, and I'm going to get right to that, and I will see you guys all in the funny papers.